All right. Hello to our friends online. Hello to everybody in person. If you are here about digital navigation, you are in the right room. I realize this is no longer in full screen though, and that's gonna bug me. And so I'm gonna fix that. Okay. Good morning. Hi, I am Justine Shade. I'm your presenter today, and I'm a project coordinator at World Education. I've been with the company for just about 2 years now. My background before getting into World Education, which is a nonprofit, I got my degree in applied linguistics and then teaching English to speakers of other languages. So I am an educator, I'm a linguist turned researcher and digital opportunity facilitator. Most of my work is based in the US, but I do have some international work mixed into all of that. We are not going to focus on that work in Africa and Asia, but stay in the US to talk digital navigation. And I'm going to jump right in to my, hi, come on in, to our island friends. The screen is over there. I'm sorry if I'm not looking at you. I'll do my best to give you some attention as well. So to make sure that we're all on the same page, digital equity really begins when everyone has the tools, the skills, and the access to thrive in our digital economy, our digital world, all of those pieces. So what we're going to be focusing on today is what does that look like in action, working with different diverse communities across the US. What are some effective strategies for implementing digital navigation? What are some resources? And we're also going to do a sneak peek of the digital navigator course that we have built that is available for free in Coursera. Sorry, my little Zoom menu is in the way. I hope everyone is having a good COAB so far. I've had a really fun time. I've only been to one session, but you know, it's early days. It's good stuff. So I know I'm the only thing that's stopping you from getting lunch. So we'll try to move through and have a good time together. I'd like to have everyone start by sharing where they're from. Jeff is monitoring the chat. So friends online, please feel free to drop in the Whova chat since you cannot reply in Zoom. Whova chat response. Anyone here want to share where they're visiting from? Wisconsin. All Alabama. Okay. Illinois. New Mexico. Alaska. Knew it. I'm like North Star. Iowa.
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Kentucky.
Awesome.
Connecticut.
Awesome.
All of us Texans, boy.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny is that I mean, I was gonna be so disappointed if there wasn't any Texans. It seems like
You got the best one.
I know. I do have some of my favorite Texans in the room.
Yes, Texas right here.
Well, and the thing about it, because I'm a big nerd, I looked it up. There's 32 million people in the state, and I was gonna be really disappointed if not a single person from Texas was in this session. 32 million, just one. I just need one. I got multiple. So, even though I'm a nerd, I did that. Everything's bigger in Texas. 32 million. That whole number. That's 10% of our country's population, which I think is really crazy. And that might be the Pacific Northwest of me. I'm from Oregon. I didn't introduce myself. I'm born and raised Oregonian, living in Washington, big Pacific Northwest baby. No concept of the United States because if it's east of the Rockies, I don't know. I just don't know it. But what if I also told you that 32 million people is how many people are impacted by the digital divide every single year? People who don't have tools, people who don't have access, people who don't have the skills to use technology. 10% of our population cannot do what they need to do or do not have the technology to do what they need to do. Hi, welcome in. Does that surprise anybody? Is that a familiar stat to everybody in the room? You thought it'd be bigger? Thought it'd be bigger? Okay. What can we do about it? Or maybe the better question for it is, what are we doing about addressing the digital divide? Helping to close it is where digital navigator services can really come in. And these are flexible, customized supports that integrate what the community needs to get that access, to get those devices, to get those skills. What we are doing, World Education, with the support of AT&T, we are bringing those services to community-based organizations across the United States. And we do that through connected learning centers. I'm going to refer to them as CLCs through most of this presentation. It'll probably be the only acronym that you need to remember, just CLC, Connected Learning Center. And the CLCs provide resources, mentoring. They offer digital access to people. They provide computers, and those are hubs within already established community-based organizations. And through intentional conversations that we've been having with staff at those organizations, we've really been able to explore and integrate digital navigation into the work that they're already doing, because they didn't set up as a CBO to provide digital services to their community. They're providing other kinds of things, and the CLC is just a new facet of what they can offer. And the goal of these CLCs is really to help their community reach their digital goals, whether that's for education, for career, civics, personal, family, whatever you name it. That's what the aim of the CLC is. Our early work, which is about 2.5 years ago, started with just 4 CLCs in the United States, and we are now helping over 50 across the nation because that implementation was so successful in those first 4. And we really have seen 3 critical components as being really effective for supporting those institutions that really get at the heart of digital navigation, which are identifying challenges, asset mapping, and co-designing solutions. So with each site that we work with, we obviously don't go in and say, oh, you have a challenge, nothing to be done, babe. Good luck. I hope that you figure it out. Because that's not what we want to do. We work with these sites, and we're really trying to identify at the core what their communities need, and develop strategies that involve all stakeholders so that it's more effective. The power of digital navigation, I think, is really making those thoughtful connections with communities and really digging into what they need. We all know, I'm sure if I had you raise your hands, it is so frustrating when you go to ask someone a question or tell them something and they cut you off and it is not what you were going to say at all. You're starting to say it and you're like, not only is that what I was not going to say, I have to correct you and tell you what I wanted to tell you. And that's a frustrating experience. So one of the greatest things you can do for your community is be curious, not judgmental. Has anyone watched Ted Lasso? It's such a great show. I know he's from Kansas, or maybe he's from Missouri. I'm suddenly questioning my memory. What?
Questioning your knowledge.
Yeah, well, I thought it was Missouri. I was like, oh no. Regardless, Ted Lasso, I'm not from Texas. You'll have to bear with me. But this is a quote that he says he sees on a mural. Be curious, not judgmental. And if I could boil down this entire session to one phrase, it would really be curious, not judgmental. Because when you're curious, that is where magic happens in your community.
It is moving on.
Thank you. Nailed it. Nailed it. So curiosity helped us at one of the sites uncover that they had community members who were experiencing homelessness. That's what their CBO addressed. And in addition to providing access to basic needs, what would be really helpful for them is using the CLC to get access to services, to get access to healthcare. That's what curiosity led us to. Curiosity helped us find out about individuals who had workforce development goals, who wanted help writing resumes, finding jobs online that they did not have the ability to do at their own homes. Curiosity made us aware of a community that had a lot of parents who wanted to better support their children and make sure that they were setting them up for success, that they could talk to their teachers online, help them with online homework. And by providing digital navigator services to help them be more digitally literate, they were able to expand and improve outcomes for their children's education as well. So whether that's through things like interviews or surveys or direct service, if you are working with people individually, I think finding a way to be curious is really identifying the digital needs of your community, and before assuming what you think what programming would be best, asking them, talking with them. And that feels like such a no-brainer, but you would not believe how many places are just like, I know best. They don't come with a curious mindset. And asking those thoughtful questions is the application of curiosity. Asset mapping is another really great strategy and is part of the pre-work that's really necessary to be able to do digital navigation effectively. So you need to know what you have and what you don't. Pretty plain and simple. And there's nothing wrong with not having it all. And I want to be really specific about that. I think as adult educators, we are very used to not having the time, not having the staffing, not having the space, not having the resources to teach and support our programs. We are very good at doing a lot with a little, and that is okay. And that applies to digital navigation services as well. So I think if you all thought to yourself for a moment, online friends, do you have the staffing? Do you have the devices? Do you have the space, the technology access right now, today, to provide digital navigation? I think that taking a shot in the dark, I could probably say no one here would have like an enthusiastic, yes, I have all of those things. Most of us are missing one or more of those things to be able to effectively do what we want to do. And not every site that we've worked with has the physical resources, has the staffing resources, has all of the things that as adult educators we also deal with. It is a very parallel situation. So what I think is really important is, and I'm going to dig into our sites in just a moment here, I want to emphasize that every site that we've worked with has been completely different. They have a different community, they have different needs, they have different assets, and the model that we've used to support them is the same, but the way that it has been brought into their work is different, and it's going to be different for yours. Everything has been good for that site. No two sites are identical, and I'm not going to tell you that you can leave the session with a foolproof plan. I'm not going to hand you so-and-so volunteer organization, or you should teach these specific classes at your organization, because that's not what's going to work, because it's not tailored to your community. What I hope you leave the session with is a model for understanding how to think about your community, how to think about your assets, how to think about what your community needs, and bringing those together and designing solutions that are thoughtful for them. And being a little curious. I lost my thing. I told you I don't have a clicker, so I can't just walk away. So if I lose my mouse. And that really leads us to integrating the voices of the people that you serve for digital navigation. So does anyone here provide digital navigation services already? Liz in the back, and then some friends. What are the challenges that you hear the most?
How long does this run? 5 days? You hit on it already with the staffing, the equipment, every single one of those, and you're so right. So I originally had 5 sites that were sort of piloting along with Literacy Minnesota as partners with 2 other states for AmeriCorps digital navigators.
Yeah.
And then AmeriCorps has so much challenges. Like any of you who use AmeriCorps service members before know, they don't even pay the poverty line because it's technically not a job, it's a service. I had to directly send money to somebody because they didn't have food. And there are navigators.
Yeah.
Right. So I cashed out those yesterday because they weren't getting
Great.
So that right there, it's like basic needs aren't even getting met of the staff that we're trying to use here in Texas to reach these groups. And then there's just so many layers that we don't have. And I like this idea of having a model that we can, it's not a solution necessarily, it's a pathway forward though, to see what can we solve and what can we learn from these other things and other places. And by the way, I do use your free course.
Amazing.
They take their free courses like a sort of support system to what they're being trained to do by Literacy Minnesota with Coursera. And then it's their like free teach, free learn, read, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and I'm excited to hear more about the model. Everyone will get a preview of that course that she's talking about at the end of this presentation. And then, so you have your hand raised. Challenge that you hear from your community for digital navigation. What do you hear?
Yeah, from the community.
Yeah.
Oh, just access devices. I mean, we run a English language program, and when you surveyed our students, like 90% only on a phone, mobile phone, like no laptop, no tablet.
Yeah, no large screen devices.
Remote classes, so we need to blend out a lot of hotspots. Also, because
Totally.
And the cost of those devices, so lots of just even getting.
Yeah.
To be started. Right?
Absolutely. That makes total
And then
sense.
implementation. Because a lot of digital skills are higher level English vocabulary and,
Yeah.
and more difficult to navigate. So like that's a challenge on our end is we have to provide a lot of interpretation for our low level English students because we refuse to let their language be a barrier to the
Totally.
Process, but it's challenging.
We will have a moment about that. What I feel like I'm hearing though from both of you is that you are considered trusted pillars in your community. They can come to you and say, I'm having this problem and I need your help to fix it. And I see nods, like that resonates. And that's so special about digital navigation. When you show up for your community shows up for you, they tell you what they need, and you can really make an effective impact. If for those who are not already doing these services or don't feel like they are that person, having a trusted partner on the ground to talk with your community is so critical. You know, having someone who can ask those questions and say, what do you need? Because when you start to uncover what your community needs, are they adults? Are they kids? Do they need workforce development? Is it English language services? What do I need? Having at least one person that can really be that person that I know I can go talk to this person, then they will help me find what I need, whether that's skills, whether that's access to a device, whether that's access to internet. And ultimately, digital navigation services don't happen in silos. And one thing I want to say for those who are like, ooh, I can't do that. Like we're hearing a lot of things like hotspots and providing those services. Digital navigation does not happen in the silo, and having partners is a tremendous power. You do not have to do everything alone. And I think that really gets overlooked in digital navigation. People are like, well, how can I do access to internet? How can I do access to devices? How can I do access to skills? You do not have to do all three. Digital navigation does not mean that you are checking every single box, but you are trying to get to the core of at least one of those problems. Through our work, we've learned that even without a designated digital navigator on staff at some of these sites, there are still ways to increase digital navigation, mapping those organizational assets, mapping what's around in the community, finding those partnerships, and then co-designing solutions from there. So we really believe in a co-design. You've heard me say it, co-design, co-design, co-design. Say it one more time for fun. Co-design. Services. You guys couldn't see my foot lift online, but our model centers around uplifting those communities. And again, we're using this model to support those 50 plus connected learning centers that are through AT&T across the nation, which are really these like full service computer labs. They bring in fiber optic internet, they bring in a bunch of devices, and that's what those CLCs are, just for a little more context around that. And our goal is to connect their community in some way, whatever that means. And it is not a one size fits all model. So I call it the real solution. So recognizing, exploring the digital needs of the community and outlining the value of digital navigator services. There has to be buy-in from your organization to implement digital navigation, digital literacy. Not everyone has that at their organization. So understanding why digital navigation is important is also like parallel to getting and understanding the needs of the community. Empowering the communities that you work with, the site that you're at, to develop and support customized strategies. And that might look like co-design, coaching, resource dissemination. I'm trying to look at you online as well. Then correlating and aligning those site capacities to express community digital needs, whether that's device access, whether that's the loans or giving people devices and digital skills training with friends online, or leveraging. So connecting your organization to other partnerships, other stakeholders, businesses, school districts. There are so many things that are in your community that can support your work. And this is the model that we are using, and we're going to take a look at that in action. So El Centro is a very small but mighty organization in rural Mississippi, who is run by a wonderful woman named Ms. Letty. And they have a community that really shows up for them. And it's because of the work that they do and that they've fostered within their community and asking those questions, being curious. So they primarily have a Hispanic population, and their site historically has served K-12 youth and really been focused on helping kids as like an after school program. And they've really been dealing with the last few years, limited funds and a lack of staffing at their organization. I think everyone here, if I asked you to raise your hand, you'd be like, me too. But despite those challenges, they have a community that shows up in a way that is really incredible. Indescribable, actually. Eugenio is a recent immigrant from Venezuela who came into the community, whose son was joining and coming to El Centro for K-12 services. And as a lawyer in Venezuela, he saw a need with other parents, other Spanish speakers in particular, to get digitally literate. And so Eugenio started offering to support computer classes, basic digital literacy, basic computer courses, all range, the whole gamut. He started offering his time volunteering as a parent because he wanted to make sure that other parents in the community had the skills that they needed to support those children. Because Eugenio has stepped in to volunteer and teach those classes, Ms. Letty has been able to get other volunteers in the community to come in. They have done housing sessions where people could come in and get HUD certified so that they could get first-time discounts for like first-time home buyership because they had the support of the community. CRCD is based out of South Central LA, and they are very workforce focused. They mostly support teens and young adults entering into the workforce. They have a lot of community need around food security, and they have a low income population around them that is not particularly food secure. Because of that, they have a food pantry on site at CRCD, and they, through conversations with us, co-designing solutions. What do we have? We have a food pantry. We know that there are people in our community who need digital skills, and we're trying to get them into the workforce. They started inviting their community to do workshops while waiting in line for the food pantry, offering tamales and coffee while doing digital literacy courses. So a little, you're already here. How can we bring you into this other piece when we know you need it? Jefferson East is kind of covers 5 neighborhoods in Detroit, Michigan. And previously, before working with them, they developed what they call a community tech worker program, which was to connect basically digital navigators, but for business, to local businesses to rise up the economy in Detroit and really get people what they needed to have their small businesses. And they learned after we started working with them that their community had a big need for senior services outside of businesses that they were already helping. A lot of seniors in their area didn't have access to devices, didn't have access to the internet. And an asset they had was the community tech worker program. They'd already been doing the model. They already knew what was working. And they knew that the best community tech workers that they had were the ones who were from the community, ones who were from Jefferson East. And so what we worked with them to do is find a former CTW and turn her into a digital navigator who works specifically with seniors and others in the community and move away from the business side and move into more one-on-one connections. I think it's very obvious from what I've described that none of these sites are the same. No challenges were the same. None of the assets they had were the same. None of the solutions they had. And so how you can show up and help your community varies and is going to differ greatly. It's what we said earlier. I'm not leaving you with a, here you go model. It's a fit to your needs model. So we have looked at this as sort of a spectrum for how you can start bringing digital navigation into your organization from group to individual, drop into schedule. And I'll talk through a couple of these examples. So Boys and Girls Clubs of America, I know we all know K-12, not adult. I know we're at an adult education conference, sue me. But these, a lot of the new sites that we support are Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and they do something that they call a power hour for their CLCs, which are established hours where students come in and they can work on anything that they want. So homework, academic games, coding. They've done like code camps, which is pretty cool. And that is drop in when they want. Students come in together as a group and use the spaces. City Square, and that I want to note really fast, these are real photos from the sites. This is a user at City Square, now Stupa, here in Dallas, Texas. And they primarily serve unhoused populations, and they offer drop-in individual sessions because they only had one person on staff, and she was not just a digital navigator. She did other things, and that is the reality for a lot of us. So she basically moved her office into the CLC and was there part-time in that space, offering drop-in individual services for anyone who needed it, because they wanted to make sure the lights are on, we are here, and I can help you. At El Centro, again, that's the space that we just talked in depth a little bit about, but they saw a need for multilingual digital literacy classes. Eugenio came in and started providing that as a volunteer in the organization to support the parents of that community whose children were already receiving services. A New Leaf, which is in New Mexico. I'm trying to find, I'm like, who was in New Mexico? Yes, I was like, that side of the room. A New Leaf, Mexican, is one of our newer sites, and they have started offering, or they were offering one-on-one sessions that were scheduled for things like financial literacy and housing services, and are currently in the process of finding a way to make it easier for individuals who come in to do those things themselves. How do I apply for SNAP independently? How do I do things online for banking and teaching those skills so that people can come in and build those skills? So I think the spectrum really captures what it could look like for you. It doesn't have to be only one teeny tiny thing. And gets, again, at the heart of digital navigation, which is flexible and customized offerings. So we're going to step into the shoes of some digital navigators and put on our digital navigator caps. This is where you aren't allowed to say the answers if you know them, Tyler. Tyler was in our session last year. Shout out. So Rahima lives in a town of less than 10,000 people, which is a 3-hour drive from a major city. And it is really hard to get to because she does not have her own car. She works a part-time job locally, but she wants to go back to school so she can get her GED. But because of where she's at, and because of where she lives, an online GED is really the only option that she has to get it. Unfortunately, Rahima does not own a device, and she needs to take online classes. That is a problem. And she does not have the budget to buy a new laptop and get Wi-Fi at her home at the same time. She can do one or the other, but she can't afford both right now. Her local library has computers that she can use and has a digital navigator. And while that's great, the library is not open at the time that these classes would be. So they have devices, but they're closed when her GED classes would be. She really wants to go back to school so she can start a career and move from part-time into a full career. But she's really limited by that access to devices. So we're going to read through a couple. I lost my mouse. I knew I'd do it. We're going to look at a couple of scenarios. And because this is so much smaller, I'm going to read just so everyone in the back can read it. So if you were her digital navigator, would you A, research device loan programs to secure devices for the community that can be checked out from the library? Would you B, agree and apologize for bad timing, suggest trying again and hoping that classes are available at another time next term? Or would you try to find programs that help provide devices to those in need for no or low cost and help Rahima apply for a device? Friends online, feel free to drop your answers in the Whova chat. Jeff is monitoring. Friends here, feel free to, we'll do a hand raise. Who would choose A? See a hand. B? C? Let's see, Jeff, any thoughts online? No Whova friends? That's okay, Whova friends. Because I saw a handful of answers for A, that is absolutely a good choice. And sometimes that is the choice that we have the capacity to do. It would provide Rahima with a device that she needs right now. And it would support her towards her journey. The tricky part with that is there are probably other people in that community that also need devices. So there's a very real chance that Rahima would go to check out a device and it's not there. And then she's like, ah. So the option that sort of mitigates that a lot of you answered is C. It really helps her long-term to get her own device. And with that access, she can take those GED classes and move on. to a new career. And I think that that story really highlights the value of community assets and how when you work with others, you can find things. So that is not about the library being the place that gets devices. It's about finding a partner that can help provide, that can help you find devices for other people. You don't have to be the device distributor. It's really aspirational to want to be a one-stop shop for your community. Everyone wants to be able to provide every single thing that we would love to be that full and that rich to do so. Bless you. But the fact is you don't have to do it alone. Collaborating is a very real and very okay strategy to get your community what they need. Sometimes, bless you again. Sometimes it takes a village. Yes, you do not have to be this one. I forgot to click that. My bad. Another story. We're going to do another one because I love a Q&A. Piotr is an immigrant learning English and has recently had a health scare. He knows he needs to see a doctor, but his doctor is only available for telehealth visits. He has a phone that he knows how to use and navigate because it is set in his first language. He downloaded the app that has a health portal that he was told to get, but he's having a hard time navigating it because it is only in English. He goes to his doctor's office to try to get help and talks to a digital health navigator. That's another subsection if you want to dig in deep there. He explains that he wants to be able to talk to his doctor to get results, but is really confused by all the buttons and the words that are not familiar to him. So that navigator comes up with these three solutions. Do you A, help change the language settings to his first language and show him how the language can be changed using common icons? Do you show him the buttons for test results, message, and video visit, practice with him so he can access those three features he needs? Or do you click on the buttons to get him what he needs and he might remember the icons, and even if it takes a few times to get it, you can at least make sure that he sees what they are. Online friends, I'm counting on you. Drop something in the chat. For those of us in person, who would choose A? Okay, who would choose B? Okay, and C? No C's. I didn't see some hands, but that's okay. I'll forgive you. For those who chose A, I would say that is probably the ideal situation. That is helping Piotr get at the root of his problem, which is language access. With the buttons in his first language, he can navigate more fully. He can talk confidently with his doctor, get the test results he needs, and he might even use that new skill that you've taught him to use it for other applications. Maybe he's going to go into Facebook and change the settings so that he can communicate with family in his home country by teaching that core skill of icon recognition for digital literacy. B is also another good choice, and I want to make sure that's clear, and that is a step in the right direction. It's just that he is missing out on access to the full entirety of the health portal if we only show him how to use the buttons that he needs now. That does not address the long-term root cause of his problem. So this really highlights the importance of co-designed solutions, because when you celebrate and elevate their existing knowledge and experience and skills, you can build that in a little bit more. Everyone is the expert of their life, and he already has some skills. He knows what he needs. He's telling you very clearly, how do we just enhance what he already has? We don't need to think about what he needs. We just need to ask him. And again, I'm going to say the word curious. Did you like those case studies? Good, because they're in the Digital Navigator course. So this past September,
just before you continue, when you said co-design, because to me this is a new term until you guys came in and did your thing with us.
Yeah.
You were talking about the planning phase. And that's when you say why you might want to repeat. What
yeah. For those online asking about what co-design means and if that's part of the planning phase, I think co-design is throughout. It's ongoing. It is a nonstop. It is a constant check-in. But co-design is really putting together, what do I have right now with either at my organization, with my partners, the whole of my assets mixed with what is my community saying that they need, and finding those sweet spots in between. So I think co-design is asking your community, asking your organization, asking your partners, and bringing that all together and finding solutions, telling a story. So co-design, I'm trying to think of another synonym, but it's just one of a kind. It's so special. Jumping into the digital navigator specialization certificate, I dare you to say that 3 times fast. This past September, World Education, in collaboration with Goodwill Industries, with the support from AT&T, we launched this digital navigator specialization certificate, which is available on Coursera. It's so hard. And it is a self-paced 15-hour program. Liz already shouted it out. And it was built from the skills and interventions, a lot of what we've covered and talked about today. And it was based originally off of our Digital Navigator playbook. That's where this all sort of started and blossomed from. And it really is meant to provide you with the tools to support access to devices, internet skills, whatever that looks like for you. It does not teach someone digital skills. If you are not digitally literate, this is not going to teach you. This is not North Star. This is not going to teach basic digital literacy skills. It's not meant to do that. It is about providing guidance for you and your organization. So it's 3 courses, and the first course is really focused on understanding the digital vibe and understanding what your community needs and what digital navigation is as an intervention. What is digital navigation at its core? A lot of what we talked about, but it dives in deeper. Course 2 is learning about what kinds of interventions work and exist for digital navigation models. And that includes best practices, things like customer service. How are you engaging with your community? Cultural competency. How are you showing up for community members that don't look like you, that don't have the same backgrounds as you, don't have the same experiences as you? And then course 3 is about identifying strategies and partnerships. So again, not needing to be a one-stop shop for your community and finding ways that you can understand your own assets and then connect with others to help fill those gaps when you're ready to do so. You can take them all separately, although we do recommend having them all together and in order because they build off one of another. It's a 1, 2, 3 situation, but if you really wanted to, or if only one of these interests you, you could absolutely just take an individual course. The program is available at no cost if you audit it. The caveat with auditing is that you do not have access to the full content and you have to enroll in each course individually. You can't just register for the full specialization. So no cost, but no certificate. You could also enroll if you want access to all of the quizzes, if you want access to all of the activities, if you want access to the capstone project, which is really a culminating piece that helps provide asset maps and is really something that you build up throughout the course so that you have an action plan for your community. That does require some subscription. We did not set the price. That is Coursera's subscription price. It is 15 hours. If you are dedicated and committed, you could get this done in a weekend and spend $50 and be done. Just noodle on that if you need to. And I'm going to close out this presentation by showing you how to audit it because it's hidden and it's really weird and it's hard to get to. I made it. I have the screenshot. Like we had a whole like GIF that we made over this because it is that tricky to get to. So I'm going to jump to the course and hopefully it's still logged into me. Okay. So you're going to be tricked. You're going to land, where's my mouse? You're going to land on this page and you're going to think, I want to click this. But if you click it, there's no button and you just are like, why do I have to do this free trial? Which actually also, if you get this done on a weekend, free trial, you could do things. If you're really, really committed to the 15 hours. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see specialization 3-course series, and then it has those 3 courses. You have to click into every single one individually and click start free trial, and then magically audit the course appears. And when I do it, buttons, time, thinking, it'll jump you into the course. It's a pain. I have no solution for you other than that. And I wish it was different, but alas, it's where we are. I'm going to close that screen and jump back into full screen because I hate looking at the little bar. And I lost my mouse again. Other screen. These are a couple other additional resources that I just want to flag. Again, that specialization course was originally it was dreamt up based on the Digital Navigator playbook. I will be sharing these slides after the session, so all of the links, all of the QR codes, everything will be accessible. And a few other digital skill-based things that we love from WorldEd, AT&T, Goodwill, since that's what I've been talking a lot about today. If you love world education or you don't know and want to learn more, please feel free to join us at other sessions. I am doing another session later today on a technical assistance library for resources. Come see me at 3:50. And that's it. And I left this purposefully short compared to the full 70 minutes one because I know I'm keeping you for lunch. And two, wanted to offer space for some QA and talking. So I will be here to talk for the next 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't know what time fully it is to chat. Thank you guys so much.